Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. I live in British Columbia, Canada. It's finally getting hot. We are supposed to have up to maybe 35 degrees on the weekend. So that's going to be fun for me, sitting under my little blue roof at the Farmers and Crafters Market, isn't it? And maybe 37 Monday, Tuesday. I'm very grateful that we now have air conditioning in our house, and we've only used it a couple of times so far. But I just turned it on again just for a little while because I was slaving over a hot stove making soup and hand washing dishes, which was a very hot job. Oh boy. I've already filmed some stuff for this vlog. There's going to be a little bit of farmers market footage. There's going to be a little bit of sewing room tidying and a little bit of sewing. And I just need to show you what I made today to supplement yesterday's makes. And I have cut out some pieces for a bucket hat. Now, I haven't had very good luck with bucket hats in the past. I had printed out a sweet red poppy pattern, but the little 1-inch square that's supposed to be 1 inch was not 1 inch. And so I made the first one the adult size, and it was too big. It was a large adult or someone with big hair. And I made it with quilt cotton, and I think that was last year sometime. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll try making the child size. And that one fitted fine. And I have worn it a couple of times, but I have to say I'm a little self-conscious in a bucket hat. I don't know if they really suit me. They're great for keeping the sun off, though, and you really need some sort of hat right now. So my hope is that making one out of denim will be a good idea. I'm not interfacing it, don't want it too heavy, and I'm lining it with fabric cut from one of my husband's old shirts. It's just a light grey cotton, very neutral. So maybe this bucket hat might just be a unisex one because it'll just be blue denim on the outside and this cotton shirt on the inside. I just hope I can figure out how to make it again. I found the photo tutorial a little confusing the first time I made it. And I obviously got through it because I successfully made at least 2 of these things. So that's what's happening next. And that should keep me busy until the sun's gone down behind the mountain and I don't mind venturing out for a walk. Because right now, it's too hot for me to be out there walking. So let's get on with what's been happening. Sunday morning on a long weekend here in Canada in June. It's raining. I love the rain, it smells great, but I have to go set up my market tent in half an hour. Fun times. It's very, very wet. Set up in the rain, hiding under my tent to stay dry.
A special treat is the Peachland Farmers and Crafters Market every summer Sunday in the sunny Okanagan from 10 to 2 p.m. to browse and buy the bounty of our neighbors' lands and hands. Come one, come all to enjoy the Peachland Farmers and Crafters Market. No, what, no money?
Let's start that bit again. This is the sort of rain that shows you where the leaks are in your roof. I just got dripped on. I really hope this is finished by 2 o'clock because I do not want to break down in the rain. I am ashamed of my sewing room right now. What a disaster. I've barely sewn a thing in the last week, and when I came back from the market on Sunday, all of the boxes of inventory just got dumped any old where. And my sewing table is full of stuff, and my ironing table was pulled out to iron my tablecloths, which are right there, burgundy and the blue, for the market on Sunday, and I didn't slide it back again. A cutting table has fabric on it. And there's a piece of tie-dye fabric on that corner desk, which is what I took off of my mannequin. I decided not to take the mannequin to that mannequin there. Decided not to take it to the market anymore because it was just getting wet all the time and it wasn't really adding to the display. So I'm going to set up my phone and you can see me tidying up. Exciting footage, huh? The problem is where to start. I'll tell you where I will start, with this bag of new stuff that I got today. The Fabricland near me is closing. Got an email today to say they were closing down. So after much toing and froing, messaging my friends to find out what was going on, decided to meet one of my friends at the store and get the gossip. So basically their lease is coming up. The rent is going up by at least double on the square footage. So they're going to be looking for another location. But for now, everything's getting cleared out. They're going to sell all their fabrics, all of their shelving, their cutting tables, the lot. It's all getting cleared out. And then I guess when they find a new location, they'll buy everything in or transfer everything in new or from other stores. So I didn't go nuts today because, you know, the deals aren't as good yet as they might be in another month or two. But obviously they're not going to be ordering any new stuff in. So whatever they have in stock right now is it. And it's just going to dwindle. So I did buy 3 meters of each of these colors of webbing, my favorites, the turquoise, the fuchsia, and the lime. I've got 3 meters of each of those to add to my black. So that can go up over here with the other stuff. I also bought, honestly, I'm going to kill myself tripping over this stuff in a minute. I also bought 5 meters of their Taylor, like their store brand, medium weight woven fusible. So it's their own version of Pellon Shapeflex SF101. Way cheaper though. $11.50 a meter Canadian and 50% off. So, got some thread. Threads are all 50% off. So I bought just some black and white in the polyester and some black and white in the cotton. Whoop, nearly dropped it. Oh, did drop it. Can always use thread. Not going to go off. Okay, that's put away. Oh, making progress already. And I bought a mug because, you know, I need a YouTube mug. You like it? It says, I have enough fabric, said no one ever. And I thought that was rather appropriate. So that can be my mug that I use when I'm talking to you guys. One of the things I did finish this week was the skein of Red Heart all-in-one granny square in the soft white hot stuff colorway. And even though they say that it makes 14 squares, I got 15 out of that skein with a tiny, tiny bit left over. So I'm going to put that up on the shelf until I figure out what I'm going to make with them. The one thing with this yarn is you know you're probably going to make granny squares out of it, so you might as well make the granny squares and then figure out what you're going to put it on, use it for. There's quite a nice backpack pattern on the Yarnspirations website for that, and I do have some solid to go with it, so you never know. All right, I think I should probably deal with these boxes. So out of 6 weeks of doing the Farmers and Crafters Market, I think only one has been dry so far. So that's been crazy. On Sunday, I came home. I had to pull out my my canopy for my tent because it was soaking wet when I rolled it up. I had to take my tarp out my car, hang that up to dry. I had to take my tablecloths out of my bag and hang those up to dry. It's a little bit crazy. I don't normally take this whole thing out of my car, which I use underneath the tablecloth to add some height to my display. But Mr. Stitches and I were using my car over the weekend, or Monday, for Canada Day. We went to somebody's house for a potluck. And I can't have a passenger in my passenger seat with the cinder blocks in there. And this big wire thing keeps rolling around and sounding terrible in the back, so I took it out. So I think I managed to keep my inventory fairly dry. I don't think I have to take it out of the bags. I just have to get it off the floor here. So actually, that is going to make a huge difference to the floor. I had a pretty good day on Sunday just past. I sold enough to make it worth my while, which was nice. That hasn't happened every week. I've still got this canvas out that I made the metal straw and cutlery bags out of. Still planning to do something with that. I have some toweling out and also some grip fabric. This stuff, it's great for putting on slipper soles. But I was thinking of making some jar openers with it. Just a little square with fabric on one side and a grip of fabric on the other side. You sew them together and they give you some non-slippability when you're trying to open a jar. So I might yet do that. So that can stay there. How are we doing? Oh, this is going quickly. Okay. Drawstring cord, that can go back where it belongs. We had quite a little bit of excitement yesterday. We were driving my car down south and I had heard a funny noise a couple of weeks ago when I was driving to the market. It sounded like there was a piece of wire wrapped around my wheel and that it was maybe hitting the car as the wheels turned around. And then it only happened the one time. And so I had checked around the car and made sure there was nothing in the wheels or anything. And then I forgot about it because when you're not hearing the thing, you don't really think about it, do you? So thankfully, it started again yesterday while Mr. Stitches was driving and I was just a passenger. And I said, oh yeah, that happened a couple of weeks ago and I had no idea what it was. So he pulled over and checked around. Turns out that the little bit of damage that happened to my bumper a few months ago, which we didn't fix yet, just at higher speeds, like once you get to about 100 kilometers an hour, something was threatening to catch on the road and like get ripped off. If I had been on my own and deciding it wasn't an issue, and I had driven all that way without anything being done about it, it could have caught on the road, ripped off, maybe flown off the car and frightened the heck out of me. And I could have crashed the car. It could have distracted me so badly. I could have had a crash at like 100 kilometers an hour. So I was really grateful that Mr. Stitches caught it. And he stopped. We pulled into a place where there's a dollar store. And he impressed me greatly with his MacGyvering skills, because he bought a wooden spoon, which he cut in half to get rid of the rounded part, just needed the stick part. And he bought some zip ties, and he fashioned a fix out of a wooden spoon handle and some zip ties. I was like, oh, thank you, dear. You're brilliant. Because, yeah, it could have been really nasty. I might not have been here today to talk to you. I could have been in hospital or worse. That's scary. All right, let's deal with that ironing board next. That's the next thing that's bugging me. Anyway, I was a very good girl today because I actually walked to the fabric store rather than drive to get there. It's close enough to walk, so I did, because I was feeling a little guilty about eating a bit too much on the weekend and not exercising enough. We missed 2 daily walks in a row on the weekend, which is not like us at all. Normally one of us is sufficiently motivated to bug the other and say, we're going. But no, we both just opted out. So I got a good walk in this morning, and probably I'll have another one tonight. I'm going to move you over while I do the sewing table. We got a little interrupted there, had a phone call I had to answer. Okay, where did I get to? Oh yes, let's keep hanging stuff back on the pegboard, shall we? Putting things away in drawers. So going back to Fabricland, which is the store I used to work at until last year, it looks like their lease is up in September, and yeah, the landlord's gone and put up their rent by an insane amount. So I get the emails to let me know about the deals. So what I'm just going to have to do is keep an eye on things, because right now the only good deals are the thread and the patterns, and I don't really need patterns. I mean, I could go through the catalogues and see if there's anything I desperately thought I should stock up on, but I don't think there is, and I'm not going to do it just for the sake of it. But of course, if at some point the quilting cottons go on at like 75% off, well, duh. There's no way I'm going to be able to resist that. No possible way. Do you have a fancy machine that does stitches like these? I mean, fancy-ish, right? You get this cheat sheet with it that you can actually clip to the machine, but it gets in the way if you leave it there all the time. But when I got the machine during COVID, actually, I did a little thing where I tried out a bunch of stitches, and I used the friction pen to write on the fabric as to which stitch it was and what stitch length and width I had used. And it's been really useful. I really like it. So I always keep that handy. And you know, you don't use the fancy stitches very often, but when you do, you need to know what they look like. Oh, good grief. Looks like vacuuming is in my future here, but maybe not today. The whole house needs vacuuming. So when I get the vacuum cleaner out, I'll just do everything in one go. Much easier. Okay. So I'm feeling the itch to sew, but I just don't know what. So the good news is I have a new job. It's a little bit scary. It's brand new to me. I applied because when I saw the job come up on Indeed.com, it was something that I thought, I've considered this before, and I think I would like to try it. And it's being an in-home carer. So it's helping people who are mostly elderly, who need some help in-house to maybe prepare simple meals or be helped to the bathroom or just need company or need driving to the occasional appointment. And I am going to start my training next week. And then what happens is you're allocated somebody who is a regular. So you get to know them and they get to know you, which I think is really important, because having someone different come in to see you each time would mean you're basically having to tell them where everything is every time. It's like, you know, you're new. I don't want to tell every single person where the tea bags are kept or how I like to have my sandwich cut. You know, do I want it triangles or rectangles? You know, that's just a silly example, but if you get to know somebody, then you know what they need. And it's a little scary. I think I probably already said that, but I'm looking forward to it. And the people who are running the company locally seem really nice, and I am hoping it works out. At some point, it could end up being a slightly higher level of care. So there's 3 levels of care. And one of the things you do have to agree to when you sign up is that you understand that there could be some people with incontinence problems. And, you know, you could be getting pretty messy. But that's life, right? We're all going to be elderly one day if we don't die first. So, you know, if I get to 80 or 90 and I need help going to the bathroom, or maybe I wear a diaper and I need to have it changed, I want people who are caring and will do it without judgment and help me where I need help. It's just human functions. So, yeah, I think it will be really rewarding. It'll probably be a lot more rewarding than just going and working at a till at the local supermarket. I think my sewing table is sufficiently tidied up, and my floor is sufficiently tidied up because I won't trip and kill myself, or at least get a concussion. So I need to think about what to make now. Well, this was a really, really quick project. If you've ever found jars hard to open, you might want to make one of these. I made some jar openers or lid grippers or whatever you want to call them. So they are quilt cotton on one side, and I had this very appropriate fabric with kitchen utensils and stuff on, and I had a little bit of this left over from something. It's a non-slip vinyl. Some people use it for drawer liners and things like that. I had a little bit in black. I only had enough for 3 of the non-slip vinyl. I only had enough for 3. So I made 3. This is a tutorial from Notches Sewing, who I've subscribed to for ages, and it's really quick and easy. Oh, I just realized I didn't do something. Okay, so I just realized I didn't do the diagonal lines to hold the 2 layers together, so I'll do that next. But I've still got quite a bit of that black fabric left with the utensils on, and it would be fun to think up something to use that for. While I'm doing my X sewing, I'll have a think about it. Now these are actually finished. I don't know if you can see the X that I have sewn across the center of there, but I also remembered to put my label on somewhat belatedly. So I just popped it up in that top corner. One of them went a little wonky. That one's pretty square. That one's pretty square. But this one went a bit weird. The fabric on top looks a bit puckery, and this sort of corner sticks out a bit, but yeah. I think it's worth sticking those on the market table this Sunday, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try some of the straw and cutlery bags with that black fabric. I forgot to tell you, I used a microtex needle for this. It was already in the machine, so I thought it'd be a good idea, and it went through the non-slip vinyl fine. The non-slip vinyl does want to stick on the bed of your machine a bit, so you have to be careful not to let it take the upper hand. These are the other things I just made. They are the cutlery cases. I didn't make the 2-inch wide ones with the straws. I had a reason for that. Yes, because the icons on the, if that's what you call it, motifs, the pattern on this fabric are quite large. I thought if I did 2-inch strips, that they might just get lost. So what I ended up doing was cutting the 3 3/4 for a 3-inch finished width. And I also folded down a little more at the top. Because this is cotton and very inclined to fray, I zigzagged around. I didn't use the overcasting stitch like I did with the canvas. I used just a zigzag, and it didn't really look that great. Thankfully, you can't see it when the bag is finished. But at the top, where I would, before, I had just turned one layer over and just sewn it down, and you could see the overcasting on the canvas ones. These ones I folded 1/2 inch over and then another inch. So I allowed for that when I sewed the side seam. So they're going to be a little shallower than the canvas ones, but I don't think that's a problem. Still long enough for cutlery, I think. I'll just use the same white cord for that. Tried to position my name tag label so it wasn't covering up a nice part of the design. So that's 6 little items finished today, and now it's getting for late afternoon, and Mr. Stitches is home, and I don't think I've heard the 2 boys come home yet, but they may have snuck in without me noticing. I might have been so absorbed in my job here. So the machine's going to have to go off for now, and we'll do some more later. So today I wanted to make something using the kitchen appliance type fabric that I was using yesterday for bits and pieces. And I looked for potholder tuition tutorials on YouTube. And I found one by someone called Sewing with Nicha, Nicha. And I hadn't seen one like this before. They are basically little cone-shaped potholders. They're cute, aren't they? I wasn't sure about them at first, but I tested them out on my Dutch oven handles, and they fit beautifully. So you just, they hold themselves open. You just pop them over the handles and lift the pot. And I thought that was really cool. So what's kind of fun is that they don't use much fabric. I ended up cutting myself a template out of my dollar store craft mat of an 8.5 inch circle. Now The funny thing about this tutorial is they show you, I'm assuming it's a she, they show you the circle of fabric and then the circle of lining and the circle of batting all cut out at the very beginning and a little piece of ribbon. And they don't give you any measurements. I didn't see any measurements in the video. I didn't see any measurements underneath the video, so I had to guess. So going by what it looked like, I cut out an 8.5-inch circle of each. In fact, I used 2 layers of cotton batting just in case, because you don't want to burn your fingers, do you? Now, I didn't put my labels on these. I realized too late that I hadn't put my label on the inside, and they're probably a little bit small and fiddly for that anyway. Just got a sort of coordinating print on the inside. Now hers, she actually folded up the edge to show the lining, but I just pressed mine so that they would stay mostly on the inside, the lining not stick out. And I just happened to have this black and white ribbon, which coordinates very nicely. So I guess you'd have to sell these as a set, because you can't really lift a pot with only one pot holder. So that would be a pair that was sold together. And then I thought maybe I'll just make the simpler, flatter kind. If you go looking on YouTube for a simple pot holder, they're normally just a square. And they're just 2 pieces of fabric with some batting or something in between. And so seeing as I had the 8.5-inch circular template already made, I cut out these. And so these ones are just a circle with a Canadian themed backing, 2 layers of cotton batting. This is a great way to use up scraps of batting, I have to say. And you know what, you could probably use smaller pieces. They could probably be smaller, about the size of a tortilla. But not only could they be used to pick up pans, but because they're bigger, they could be used to rest a pan on so you don't wreck your countertop. I think they're kind of handy. Again, didn't bother with a label on these either. So that was my first little session. And then, as I said earlier, I cut out, before I went up to make dinner, the pieces for a bucket hat. So you're going to have to wait a little bit and see how that came out. Probably not very long for you, but maybe longer for me, because they always take longer than you want them to. There's a lot of sewing with a bucket hat, and there's all that circle cylinder thing going on, which if you've been watching for any length of time, you'll know I don't like sewing circles and cylinders together. But hey, I've done it before. I can do it again. In the blink of an eye, I have a bucket hat made, and I'm really pleased with it. I surprised myself. Instead of overthinking it, I just used my logical brain and I put it all together quite well. The lining may or may not have some puckers in it, but the outside looks fantastic, if I say so myself. I'm not really a hat person. I don't think hats particularly suit me. I'll wear them in the winter to keep my head warm. I rarely wear sun hats, although I did recently buy a couple of new baseball caps. But I'm absolutely delighted with this one. Flatten my hair now. All of the denim in this was from one pair of jeans, and it's got some really cool wear marks in, which probably were there when it was new, because, you know, people don't want brand new looking denims when they buy them new, do they? And all I added at the end was just a tiny embellishment in the form of a belt loop off another pair of jeans. I don't have many belt loops because most of my jean pieces came just as legs. But I recently tossed a pair of my own jeans, and so I unpicked a belt loop off, and I just added, I felt it just needed something else. But it's not girly, so I think a guy could wear this as well if he fancied having a bucket hat. And this is the fabric from my husband's shirt. So yes, the circle and the cylinder didn't go together super neatly here, but it's the inside of the hat. And I think what I'll do next time, because there's going to be a next time, is I won't match my seams exactly on the side here, because when you close up, you top stitch around it to close up the turning gap. And it was definitely a little thick just here. Even though I put a jeans 90 in, it was still a little thick just there because I had a lot of bulk. So I think I will deliberately not align my seams next time. Yeah, I'm super happy with that. So it's now Wednesday night, and I have 3 sewing days left till the next market. So I think I should make more of these, especially as it's going to be so darned hot. And somebody might desperately need a hat. This does take a long time to make. I'm not going to sell these really cheaply. I reckon probably $30 for this, which, considering the amount of time that goes into it, is pretty good. Yeah, the denim was cheap and the shirt was free. But let me see. I didn't time myself for this, but I probably should have done. Probably at least 3 hours. So I'm hoping I've got some other suitable legs which don't have too much stretch. This is awesome. It did not have lots of lycra in it, so that was perfect. So there we go. I am 1 over into the joys of making bucket hats now. Well, that's it for this vlog. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much for being here, as always. I do love to show you what I make, and I hope you like to see what I make, and it maybe inspires you to try new things of your own. And I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.